annoying. All right. We're going to make this huge. Did you make something this weekend that other people could use on the computer? Wrap. All right, now we're streaming. Welcome to Learn to Code YouTube. You missed me just talking about how we're gonna break out of our passivity and get into this Monday on. Um, we are all Garfield, and we are going after the lasagna. We're not even going after the lasagna. We're looking around. Nobody's making lasagna for us. We are making our own lasagna this week, right? That is not the group project this week. It's not just making lasagna, but it's what we refer to as a metaphor or an analogy of breaking passive mode, breaking out of this passive mode of consumption that we're being forced into by the tech oligarchs, right? This is not paranoia. This is actually what's happening, right? So people in the chat, uh, we're asking right now, did you make something this weekend that other people can use? We got some answers, right? Somebody said no computer for me from Friday to Monday morning. I love it. We need to check our screen time every once in a while. Somebody says made a little task tracker that pings you. Love that. And some data analysis stuff. Answer in the box. Let me know how it pings you. I'm interested. Somebody says interactive workout calendar with corresponding diet food option for the day and an interactive grocery list. Love it. Somebody says, I made a critical discourse analysis tool, qualitative research. I also built a system that drafts tests in your voice with the learning loop that uses sociolinguistic methods to refine the voicing over time. What the heck? All right. Somebody else says, I came up with an idea to work on during the next Agentic SDLC class. I also worked on resource. Ooh, somebody was actually working on one of the projects that we worked on in this class. That's awesome. I'd love to hear it. And then going back to the pinging task tracker app, a little kitty pops up on the screen per odd activity. Love it. All right, I ferociously underestimated the class. Y'all are building things. You have broken out of this passive mode. That's awesome. That's awesome. So think about what you were doing while building these things. Specifically, this critical discourse analysis tool. This one is crazy. What did you spend the most time on with your critical discourse analysis tool?
Yeah, do you want me to just respond vocally?
That's awesome. That works better than text.
Well, alignment is always a problem. And getting it to do something, because the first attempt was much more specific to refining the voicing that I was using to just draft things for me. And I had to step back and kind of be like, no, I need the full analytical tool for my own research. And, it's pretty, I just built it yesterday, and so I haven't tested it to really find out where the breaking points are yet. But the biggest piece was, I think, directing Claude to use, just to really surface particular kinds of methodological and conceptual approaches. Not just even a generic discourse analysis, not a generic, let's look at your text and decide what is going on, but to really draw on a particular body of scholarship, and then through multiple kinds of iterations on the plan, just building that plan out. And now we've got the foundations built, and they need to be tested, and I'll have more information about where the friction points are as development continues.
All right, that's awesome. I must say that the project you're working on a little bit over my head, but that's cool. That's important that like people are working on things that are at the on the fringes, at the edges of these knowledge bases, right? And so what I gathered from the answer to that question is you what you worked on or what you spent the most time on was kind of like researching alignment, or was it aligning Claude itself?
Um, yeah, and forgive me because I'm actually really new to the tech world. And I realized when you said that I didn't explain what discourse analysis is, which is it's a social science method for basically looking really deeply at the linguistic parameters of how people construct meaning. And so the idea is it's basically a social science research tool for qualitative researchers, which there's a not enough of AI powered tools for. And in terms of alignment, yeah, I think that actually is the right framing. It's like what was really a struggle was the alignment piece. And of course, that's a combination of prompting and other things.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So what that yeah, that's great. So it's social science method, linguistics. We're constructing meaning. We used to actually call Mondays meaning Mondays, and I just talk about all the horrible news that's happening in the world, and that wasn't fun for anyone. So deriving meaning is super important when we're thinking about our personal projects or the group projects that we work on in Learn to Code. Last week we had our template farm project, which for those of you that were following along, we ended up choosing not to deploy on Thursday, which is that's a decision we make sometimes with our code, right? Is we have a finished project, it didn't hit the mark for all these different things that we wanted from it, and we decided not to deploy it. Resource.support is the community resource application that we made the week prior, and that is live on that is live on the internet. Hopefully, maybe not. Maybe we no, it's there, and so this is an application that we built together as a Learn to Code class. You can see that people are who are contributing to the GitHub are actively getting credit on the application. And if you search a zip code, it comes up with all of the community resources in that area. I mean, not all of them, but some pretty basic ones. People can add different resources for their zip codes, etc. Great application. 10 out of 10. Loved working on it, and I'm stoked to hear that some of you are actually taking up the torch and keeping resource going. It's going to be on the internet for the next year at least, right? But maintenance is a thing that we have to think of too when we're building out these web applications. What else do we have to think of? You're talking about like kind of not so much getting hung up on alignment, but that being something that you need to learn while you're working on this social science linguistics project, constructing meaning from the AI, right? Alignment's huge. That is a knowledge base. When you are researching and actively working with the AI, with Claude, Claude is going to, whether research mode is on or off, Claude's going to be pulling support, documentation, technical specs from the internet and researching that. We also need to think of what we would be pulling as humans, not just like vibe coding the thing or vibe researching the thing. That's information. Those are artifacts that somebody else provided, right? So when you're working on your projects and you hit these points where maybe the support isn't that great, or you can't figure out how to get your Claude or the GPT that must not be named to give you an answer that makes sense, that actually moves the project, that compiles. that works. Uh, uh, you have to think of like that documentation that exists on the internet. Somebody made it. So something that I want to kind of work into this today's sort of thesis of uh, breaking out of passive mode is that while you're working on your project, if you're not producing artifacts, you're not progressing the project. All right? What is an artifact, right? An artifact is just something that says, I was here. I spent 5 hours on this code block and it wasn't compiling. And then I finally figured it out. And you know what? I'm going to go back to that Git issue that somebody posted on an open source program. I'm going to post a YouTube video, TikTok video, Instagram reel about how I got over this thing. I am going to DM my friend that holds me accountable to the project how I got through this. I'm going to email the group of people that are working on the project some sort of artifact that just says, hey, I was here, hey, I had this problem and I got past it. Or I'm still stuck on this problem, so I'm going to open the Git issue. I'm going to write on the ever dwindling community on Stack Exchange. I'm going to somehow provide the world an artifact that this is what I am working on. And obviously, if the project is meant to be private, that artifact should also be private to some degree. But the sort of just like, I was here, I have proof of it, because as somebody who's gotten stuck on so many different I don't remember, you don't remember those painful coding moments. Sometimes like you remember the syntax or you remember what got you through it, but you don't remember the hours that were spent just trying to fix the thing. And it helps to sort of share, especially when we're working on the fringes, when we're working on the bleeding edge, share what we're working on. So if you're not producing artifacts, you're not progressing the project. The project is a series of artifacts, right? So a little what is one thing that you avoided building? What is one thing that you avoided building? I will.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Like when does what we make with Claude become or stops being AI slop? Like what is the turning point um to do something with AI as help, even if it's like an orchestration where we're telling the AI what to do? Because like for example, I know Python, I and there's stuff that I can do, but there's stuff I can't do with other languages. So what's like the turning point of something I could not do with Python, but I'm doing with another language that is AI slop, and when does that it's not AI slop anymore?
Like, what is the turning point where it's not AI
Yeah.
slop?
Hey,
Yeah.
Uh,
Meek,
yes, another question.
can you show Kat where to go to get to their class?
I do not know. Let me check. I So there is a class going on right now.
Looks like it. If I'm looking at the dashboard, and it says upcoming classes is Intro to Agents, a 1-day intensive. It's going on today, right now, apparently.
The email that you signed up with the multiverse.school, you should have an email that has a Google Meet link in there.
Mm.
So I didn't get that email.
Right.
All the links are just taking me to no Google Meet. The link is not working. IDK. Okay, let me Let me see if I can get that link for you. Bop, 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 bop.
Oh, there's a couple people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sometimes we get. All right. All right. Cool. That was easy enough. Got the link for you. I'm not gonna post it to the YouTube because anyone can watch the YouTube. Uh, if you were looking for the link to the intro to what is it? Intro to agents class. There it is for you. One thing that you avoided building. Uh, Before that, you said at what point does it become not slop? Uh, that is kind of a subjective question. It almost is like what is art, you know? So at what point does it not become slop? I think at the point that it becomes not slop is when it's useful to somebody. Um, when it's useful to somebody. Discard. So why is this? All right. What is one thing that you avoided building? At the point that it becomes slop, it's when it's useful to somebody. Um, because rarely, and I've seen this with like AI written applications. Um, we don't think of tools as slop. Once there's a use for it, it's like it's hard to be like, oh, this is um, like if I buy a hammer for the dollar store and it like really horribly made, but it helps me like put up nails so I can hang portraits on them. Um, it did its job, right? Is it slop if it's useful but unsafe? See, we're getting into this like semantic world where these are great questions to ask yourself when you're building projects and you want to avoid building slop. Um, but I would say the utility of something is sort of when thinking about applications is something that takes it out of slop world. But again, that's just my opinion. Um, and when thinking about art, like it gets a little hard. I think the idea of slop is not just like you so utility goes in there, but also like the time that it takes somebody to make the thing. Like we look at this sort of like AI like Ghibli knockoffs, Studio Ghibli knockoffs and like all of that um as slop because not only is it like stealing somebody's artwork that would be like rolling in their grave for like the AI, representation of it. Um, they're like it's easy to do. I can just like go to whatever image generation and be like make a Studio Ghibli version, make a Miyazaki version of me, riding a bike or something. Here's a picture of me. Um, yeah, discourse. Yeah, exactly. Not to be an absolute nerd, but this is totally a discourse analysis problem. We'll feed it to the project that you're working on. But yeah, what is one thing you avoided building? And if you already put it in the chat, we got kind of distracted by the finding the link to the Google Meet. So feel free to write it in the chat again. Um, so what is one thing that you avoided building? And somebody in the chat says, actually, I tuned in for your breakdown of all the bad news. All right. Uh, thank you. There's too much at this point. This is an hour-long learn to code class on Monday. There's just too much. So it's too much. All right. What is one thing you avoided building though? You're talking about what you built. Somebody says, I avoided building my HOA thing. So this person was working on a HOA sort of contract research situation. Um, uh, People are typing. People are typing. What's one thing you avoided building in the YouTube chat? Nobody? You built everything that you wanted to build? Cool. Um, Somebody says, I couldn't rationalize a way to accomplish it, so I stopped and moved on. I worked on a code watermarking thing. All right, I couldn't rationalize a way to accomplish it, so I stopped and moved on. The code watermarking thing. You couldn't rationalize a way to accomplish it, so you stopped and moved on. All right. That's fine, right? We'll think about this. All right. So, what's one thing we avoided building? HOA research app thing. Watermark. Watermark. What was that? Oh, watermarking thing. You see how like the things that we avoid building, we're not like super. There's like a lack of clarity on the actual thing too. We just are like, that's a whatchamacallit. It was a, you know, I spelled watermarking wrong. Uh, I avoided building everything. Wanted to take off time from the computer. Wonderful. Everything is an answer. You can build anything, but you can't build everything, right? Um, What is one thing you avoided building? Um, Anyways, so you can't build everything, but you can build anything. If you're not producing artifacts, you're not progressing the project. All right. So I over the weekend I did like this like intense self audit using Claude, using my own research. Threw in my resume, threw in all the websites. And I heard somebody in Job Stand Up talk about trying to do this with Claude, wondering about the success that they had with it. Because I'm at this crossroads where I'm like, Indeed, built in, all these job aggregate sites, they're posting like hundreds of valid jobs a day that I should be applying for, right? So I thought it should be simple enough. I saw this ad on Instagram, targeted ad, my underemployed ass that was like, hey, like, this is an AI bot that will fill in Indeed applications for you. And I was like, I could probably build a better version of this, right? We're going to suit it up with Playwright or Selenium or something. The ad was like, watch the bot fill in the applications for you like magic. I'm like, all right, yeah, they're using Selenium. They're just like injecting into a live version of Indeed. This is against Indeed's terms of services, but whatever. We can build it, right? Don't build this on an account that you need to use, right? I'm just like so over all of the accounts that I'm like, all right, whatever. If my Indeed account goes away because I tried to bot it up, that's one thing that could happen. Anyway, so I built this Claude bot, beautiful Claude bot, that would auto apply to jobs for me based off of specifications based off of my resume. It would tailor a resume for those positions and put like the PDF in, ATS scannable, right? Auto apply to jobs for me. It would even connect to Claude API when it hit questions that it didn't know the answer to, that it would then have inference for, or it would stop. I'd get a notification and it'd be like, look, you need to answer this question. You know, how many years of Python experience, stuff that maybe it didn't have like stored in its memory, right? So it underperformed. It failed. I was watching this thing get hung up on, it would take like a job, start filling out a job in Texas or something. And I'm like, no, like only like remote jobs. It's like, well, this is like a pseudo remote job in Texas. It's like, yeah, but then I have to figure out a way to fly out to Dallas once a week or something. And so the old model, like why I was earlier today, I was like talking about like breaking into tech in like 2017, 2016, looking for a startup to work for, right? It used to be like you put effort into your portfolio, into your digital footprint, your online presence. You filled out applications. You got a job. You were employed, right? If you were employable, and your digital footprint wasn't like mine and just a complete garbage dump, right? But the current model is so screwed up with all of these AI jobs, all these ghost jobs, all these like like they're using the AI against us, and then we get penalized if we try to like automate our application. If they find out that you wrote your cover letter with AI, rejected. It's like you wrote the job description with AI. Come on, So this current model is like you're expected to fill out hundreds of applications. There's so much noise that you have to sit through. You get filtered because you're not as smart as the AI, but also not smart enough to not use AI in order to apply for the job that may have been posted with AI, and then you're rejected, right? And look, like everyone now can send out 100+ applications, right? So the actual signal through the noise is just completely collapsed. The economy is collapsing, right? People are getting laid off because of AI, right? And then when the AI language sort of converges, it just looks generic, right? Like I look like the most lined paper version of myself, default, Neek. You wouldn't want to hire me, right? And so if ATS systems are filtering for structure and keywords, there's no sort of proofing layer. There's nothing that's verifying my skill, right? Maybe my skill in building the AI automation, the job search bot that could send out hundreds of Indeed applications a day and then get my Indeed account banned or shadow banned or whatever. So we have to start to, I know we come from job stand-up and we're thinking about this all the time. But with my sort of application I built over the weekend, I had to start thinking, like, if I was hiring, what would make me actually click on someone? And that's sort of the thing is, like, we have to start looking in places where they're not wielding the AI against us, right? Because you could choose to appeal to AI, right? Which is an ever-changing, mutating kind of quest, or you could choose to appeal to the sort of people that you would want to work for, right? And that's why it's like we think about what we're building, we think about what we're not building, these projects. An Indeed application, a resume, like these are all things that are going to describe you, right? Why we need to move from like the passive, like, I just need to edit my resume again. It's like, yeah, you could edit your resume again. That could be your project for the hour, but your project for the day should be whatever application you want to build. Actively build it, create, you know? The resume and the ever like easy apply loop that we're caught in, that's just it's becoming like almost like a neutral, almost consumptive practice. We are not creating when we apply to things. We're like hoping to sell ourselves as employees, right? Um, so just something that I'm thinking about. Uh, yeah. So somebody says, I'd really prefer to not have any online presence. They can't have my goddamn data. They can't have it. Um, yeah. Yeah, we get penalized for doing the same thing to them that they do to us. Yes. So, thinking about all of this, do we really want the job with the people that are going to knock you for using AI, but they're using AI to filter out employees, right? Um, so this person actually has a I don't know what it is. The program rough. It needs a lot more work getting everything wired up, and I just haven't had the time to bootstrap script. All right. Cool. And then people in the YouTube chat, truth. Um, then asked to use the skill. Oh, this is your critical. This is your social science method. Cool. Grouchy Seafowl. You went with the GitHub. Was that the name they gave you, or is that just nice? All right. Cool. Love it when people post their project to the chat. This is it's called Reframe. All right. A Praxis engine. That's a great name for something. Uh, Claude loves that word. Claude loves Praxis. Claude loves M dashes. So does ChatGPT. Um, Praxis. What does Praxis even mean? Just thought? I'm gonna look up Praxis for myself right now. Praxis. Uh, the process of applying theory lessons the skills into practice. Praxis. To do or act. Cool. Yeah, they do love emojis. Um, lot of words. Love it. Love a text heavy bop bop bop. Cool. So I don't know if you're using or if you're familiar with like any framework for making tech specs. This is nice. In class we've used something called OpenSpec. There's been a handful of other ones that we've explored. Um, uh, but yeah, cool. This is great. This is fun. Um, love when people share their GitHubs. We'll give it a little star. Thank you, Grouchy Seafowl. Yes. If you've been using emojis and M dashes heavily for decades, you are an AI. That was a test. So when we're building out these projects, we talked last Monday about how we have to find things that kind of enthuse us, excite us, to keep working on the projects. We're sort of like David Goggins, like, you just gotta push harder. You gotta wake up at 4 in the morning, and you gotta run in the rain, and you gotta get trench foot. You gotta go on a run through a blizzard, it's just like we're like stuck in this place of like self-flagellation. Like we need to like consistently be punishing ourselves in order to optimize. That we're only going to see that optimization through being so stringent with our schedules, either waking up earlier or putting more hours into the code, or paying for the more expensive subscription to the AI tool that we're using, or going to the weekend symposium that costs like $20,000, right? And that I think is part of the like sort of like consumptive optimization loop that we find ourselves in, that I feel like a lot of people in tech are very like vulnerable to, right? Because wouldn't everyone like to be more efficient? Wouldn't everyone like to be a more finely tuned, optimized version of themselves, right? And so I think what's important is we need to sort of like shift out of this like scaling our effort on the project, right? Like how many times has like scaling your effort on a project gotten you through an obstacle? It might work once or twice, but if you hit a line of code or an error that can't be resolved, or some sort of user flow that's just completely busted, just by like putting more effort into it and like, you know, like sinking more hours into it, you don't always get through that issue. It's less about like scaling up your effort and more about increasing your signal, right, within the noise, right? And what do I mean by that? All right, so early on, you don't you, early on the projects, you kind of do things that don't scale because they produce signal. You should be producing signal early. This GitHub, the fact that this is on GitHub and that we can star it and look at it, and you chose to share it in the chat with us, and now we're streaming it live on the YouTube, is that's producing signal, right? So sending 100 applications on Indeed, right? That might, for me, feel like, whoa, I'm scaling, right? I've built out this like Indeed bot. Um, Claude helped me build it. It's filling out all these applications for me. But the signal is so low on those 100 applications. Never in the history of job seeking has an application mattered less than it does now, right? And to make y'all feel better, I get about like 3 to 4 rejections a day in my inbox, right? The applications that I do through the computer on the internet have never, for me at least, never panned into anything fruitful. And that's not to be depressing, but producing signal, right? When you build a useful tool, it might not scale, right? It might not be scalable. It might not lead to 100 people using that tool. But the signal of building a tool that's useful to even one person is orders of magnitude times higher than sending out an application, right? Depending on what the application is. I mean, if you send out an application, so your friend tells you about this job, you have a solid reference. This is like yes, that the signal on that, I feel like, is richer than the LinkedIn Indeed Easy applies, So, but bringing it back to sort of the learn to code space, the learn to project space, the learn to build your projects. A great sort of signal, like priming the pump of like what would increase signal with the projects that you're building, if you're not working on something already, is what is over here. One what is one annoying repeatable thing in your life? Oh my god. Sorry, pure ref is being annoying. What is one annoying, repeatable thing, task, obstacle in your life? Feel free to answer that in the box. Feel free to mic up if you want. What's one annoying, repeatable thing in your life? Everyone's saying dishes? All right.
Purging spam out of my inbox.
That's a beautiful one. Purging spam out of your inbox. All right. What's one annoying, repeatable thing, task, obstacle in your life that happens on the computer? Because dishes, cool. Like, I wish, unless you're like doing robotics and building like robot arms and have like, some sort of like plumbing, dishwasher robotics, industrial cleaning mechanics. Dishes are annoying, repeatable. I just did the dishes, right? But yeah, consolidating to-do lists, routines, and appointments into a single timeline. Purging spam. Somebody else posted taxes. Yes, those are annoying and annually repeatable or quarterly, depending on, or I don't know, in certain cases, every paycheck. Yeah. Yeah, so thinking about these sort of annoying, repeatable things and then converting them into a software shape, right? I hate Indeed. I freaking hate Indeed. I freaking hate LinkedIn. I hate filling out applications on the internet so much, right? I check these job sites constantly. So that sort of becomes the software shape, and when I talk about the software shape, I forget the direct quote, but we bring it up in class a lot. It's an input that provides an output, like with a certain specific application, right? Like we're trying to with a specific objective, an input that provides an output with a specific objective. So if you check job sites constantly and that's annoying you, the input is job listings. Dishes annoy you, the input is dirty dishes, right? Purging emails, that's annoying and repeatable. The spam emails is the input, or the emails that need to be purged, right? Taxes. Your taxes are the input is your tax information and all of that stuff. Doom scrolling is repeatable. It's annoying. Your content feed, right? We build these sort of we've built applications that handle these like annoying problem statements, but we need to see these problems as transformations. We need to kind of like change how we're thinking about the problems that we come up to, right? Because like when I don't want to do the dishes and I sit on my couch and I'm like, dang, I don't want to do the dishes, I start looking at my phone and then I'm consuming the doom scroll feed again, right? And it's like I will seriously be like watching videos that are like about how to organize my time and how to like Marie Kondo my life while I'm like letting the dishes pile up and the world around me just like become more of an annoying repeatable task that I'll have to deal with eventually. And I think it's because there's so much of that content out there that's just like, this is how we optimize, this is how we're efficient, and it feels almost better to consume the educational hopeful content than it does to actually do the things that they're talking about in those videos, right? So we have our weekly group projects that we build. I urge you all to work on personal projects, um, but we'll open up our little uh, our little ranked choice voting site. So here is the link to this. I'll put it in there. I'll put it in there. Uh, oops, not there. In here. So, ranked choice voting. We choose things to build, right? We vote on them together. People can make suggestions as to what we're voting. So, I'm going to go to my little admin section. What should we build next? Week of 413 project. What should we work on as a group project this week? Suggestions are going to close. Let's call it at 8 tomorrow. So you got to make a suggestion by 8. Remember that people may not vote for your suggestion if you wait till the last minute to post it. And then this is also going to be tomorrow, the 14th. And then the poll will close an hour before class, so we have a little time to set up at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Right, this is all in Pacific time, so apologies if you're having to do mental math. That is, God, what is 8 a.m. in UTC? 8 a.m. Pacific time. 3 p.m. UTC and 4 p.m. UTC. All right, for it's 5 a.m. right? What? Oh, never mind. Are you in like Hawaii or Alaska? Okay. Anyways, we're getting hung. Yeah, I'm getting distracted by time zone stuff. All right, so we're creating a new poll, right? So we'll go back to voting. How does this work, right? Because a lot of you last week were like, I didn't get to vote for anything, and now we're working on a project that I don't want to work on. We got 5 votes last week, but 5 votes isn't enough to we want more votes on this thing. So suggestions. Anyone can post a suggestion. That will be your one suggestion. And then we work on the project as a group, right? And sometimes we deploy the project, right? The resource app was somebody's suggestion at some point, right? Re-rank everything, which was one of our first applications. That was somebody's suggestion, right? So we're thinking about all of these sort of what is one annoying, repeatable thing, task, obstacle in your life. It's very likely that we end up producing the app that helps solve this for you. It's also important to see that like sometimes just a good idea does not maketh a great app, and we need to fail often, right? We get in this mindset of we a lot of the times, and this is me personally, I don't know if I'm speaking about you, this is me personally, so like I don't want to like insult the class, but before I do something, I think I'm gonna be good at it. Like I have like a premonitory or a premature confidence in things that I don't do, right? Like before I build the application, I always think it's going to be good, right? And so I put off building the application because I don't know, my procrastination, or I don't have the bandwidth, I don't have the time, whatever. I don't build the application. But then once I start building the application, I realize, like, oh, I'm not that great at this thing. I'm just not that great at this thing. And it's important to have that sort of like that murky sort of feeling of like being really bad at something before being good at something, right? Um, what is it? Uh, let's pull this open.
Dude.
Pull open Jake the dog. And for those of you that are watching in the campus, you're not going to hear it, but I'll tell you what he says.
Dude, sucking at something is the first step towards being sort of good at something.
He says, dude, sucking at something is the first step at being sort of good at something, right? And so we put off building the thing because maybe we think we're going to be good at it. Maybe we're afraid of being bad at it. But when you start doing it, you do suck at it. There's no one that's great at things. Maybe there are some people that are just inherently good at everything they do. We're not talking about them. We're talking to me, who is like inherently clumsy and kind of like disorganized and all over the place when I start things, you know, but then I get organized about how I'm doing it. Then I know where the sort of things that I need to fix are, you know? So sucking at something is the first step to being sort of good at something. All right, so yeah, openspec.dev. I think that's the right openspec. Yeah, 39.6K stars on GitHub. That's the right openspec. All right. And you could ask Claude to install it for you too. We get so many good ideas, but don't finish them. Maybe we can circle back on some. Yeah, we could circle back on some. Somebody says, I need to head out, but we'll be back tomorrow. I could make so many more suggestions. All right, what suggestions do we have? We can add them right now. Start feeling, let's start like kind of brain dumping on the suggestions. These are what we're going to be working on for the week. And remember, we can build our next resource.support. We can build the next thing that actually is an application that people end up using, right? That you could put on your portfolio, that the project as proof that you are actively coding things, right? Because a lot of us are like, I want to learn to code, but I don't know where to start. You could start with the group project, you know? Oh, I don't really know what to do for my personal project. Start with the group project. Maybe it gets the juices flowing and you'll have something to work on, right? So if it helps, think about something to build that we can build within like 5 to 10 hours, right? Realistically, we're going to have 3 hours to build this thing live as a class, and then people may choose to maintain it or not maintain it over the weekend, right? We choose to deploy it, maybe we don't deploy it. Regardless, it's going to be up as a GitHub repo. Template Farm is a GitHub repo that you could compile on your machine. We just didn't choose to deploy it as a website, right? Sorry, there's a really loud plane flying over my house. And it's annoying. But it's okay. A bad news aggregator. A bad news aggregator. Aggregator uses sentiment. Includes sentiment analysis. We can suggest that. Oh, cool. You guys are putting stuff in. Exquisite Corpse creator game. Ooh, that's fun. Exquisite Corpse. Exquisite Corpse. You ever play this game before? You like fold up the paper and then each person draws a different. That's like something that we definitely could build. Something that does fact checking would be cool. Ground News is this application that I always hear about on the YouTubes that I watch. But it tells you basically the bias of different articles, right? Um, so like this what looks like the French flag is actually like how like left or right leaning it is. Um, I think it's kind of like, you know, the partisan like the binary of like left, right, center, or the tertiary, if you want to think of center as um I don't think gives us enough, right? Like, because now we're getting to the point where like we don't know if the tech oligarchs would be considered like fascist or neoliberal fascist, right? It's the same fascism. It's, you could put like whatever, like yeah, sure, it's left and right, but like I don't know, man. Like left and right have been, left has been extremely stretched as a title on something. So this person says, I have a subscription, but someone did a really great write up. Ground News creates more bias in your mind. Republicans often post lies, and presenting them on the same level of real news creates bias in your mind. It feels more believable. That's yeah, you know, I think that is sort of like, that was like a point of the culture wars that we're now seeing, like, you know, when you put these things on the same spectrum to be judged equally, right? Equitably. Um, you know, if one person's saying like big pharma is taking is leading to big pharma is leading to like over like exorbitant numbers of overdoses. That's one article, and then the other article is like, uh, you know, the water's turning the frogs gay, and those are on the same, like, like we're like, you know, we're judging them the same way, really, like, and again, this does go back to, I forget the name of the person working on the project, but sort of this like social sciences linguistics alignment, right? Like maybe we gotta freaking align humanity first, right? uh because like the fact that those things can be on the same spectrum judged against each other is ridiculous, right? uh Semantic alignment. So there's different things that we can get into. I like Liz showed us this uh so semantal is like how it's like, first of all, it's like how the like AI is like answering things through tokenization, right? But semantal is kind of like Wordle, but like as you get closer to the word, semantically that's what you're scoring against, not just like the letter placement, right? And so there's this even cooler version of semantal where somebody made this Python program, or maybe it's not Python, but it's called PyMantle. Um, and so as you get closer to the word, you're somewhere on this like chart. So let's guess a word. Maybe gorilla. All right, gorilla is like frigid, you know? So it might not be an animal. So what if we actually guess the word humid? Humid is cool. So humid's farther away than gorilla. Um, ba 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 ba. Gorilla was closer. Uh, hairy, hairy, chili. Gorilla is still closer. Um, Or do these numbers go up? I'm confused. Harry's father, humid, gorilla. All right, no, humid is the closest. Semantle. So it's fun, right? This is how the tokens think. They're thinking about words as they relate to each other. So like, uh, the answer is a single word that I am closest to with humid and farthest from with gorilla, right? So humid, tropical. If that gets us closer, no, it gets us farther, right? So humid, uh, humid. I gotta stop and foggy. Anyways, this is like my addictive personality kind of. I now I gotta figure it out. I'm not going to though. Anyways, um, these games are fun too. This is why, like, maybe thinking about the exquisite corpse game might be the thing that people actually use as opposed to like your tax application. No offense to the tax application, right? Um, uh, but like something that's annoying that this freaking plane would know about being annoying. Something that's annoying um that games deal with is the feeling of boredom, wanting something to do, right? So if we're actively playing Semantle, that's less passive than just watching a video about looks maxing, right? We're using our brains, we're interacting with something, right? You could send the Semantle to your friend, and then they could also, whoever gets it first, doesn't have to buy dinner or something. Uh, but yeah, there's lots of fun things to do. Fill in your suggestions for what we're going to be voting on tomorrow. I know we didn't touch much code today, but that's because I want you to touch your personal project's code. Touch the code of your personal projects. Just do it. Just write a line of code today, right? Whatever you're doing. Touch grass as well, right? Think about your consumption, right? That's a consumption versus creation productivity app, right? So what would that be? I don't know. Maybe it's like a pie chart where, or you connect your YouTube and your Instagram and so it becomes like a more interactive version of all these like time blocking apps where you get like a notification when you're using TikTok. You only said you could use this for half an hour today. No, this one would actually like hook into how much you've been creating and go like, hey, you're consuming more than you've created this week. Because how are we gonna build apps if if we have this like 100% of our screen time, right? If 80% of that screen time is being used consuming videos, doom scrolling, even watching educational videos, and only 20% of it is actually creating, and I would say that number is probably a lot lower for most of us, right? Personally, I'm probably in the like 10% of my screen time is actually creating things, right? We get into this mindset too sometimes when we're vibe coding where it's like while Claude's like toiling away at something, we could be listening to music, we could be watching a tutorial or something, but you're not actively creating while Claude's creating something. It's not an imposter syndrome thing. It's like unless that time spent becomes again going back to this idea that if you're not producing artifacts, you're not progressing the project, right? So Claude writes something. It doesn't work. You don't like it, right? You put aside the project for today. That project didn't really progress. Maybe you learned a way that it didn't work, but you're not doing anything with it. You're not moving the needle on the project. My take from this is even sharing that with somebody, like what we're doing right now. like streaming it to Twitch or posting a little Instagram reel or posting a little YouTube short or whatever about what you hit and why vibe coding it didn't work out or why you need something else. I don't know. But yeah. Anyways, that's the class today. Go off. Code your own projects. Add a suggestion to the ranked choice voting, right? This is what we're going to build this week, right? We're going to touch some code. We're going to build this thing. We're going to. I want it to be an app that we deploy. I'm rooting for these apps. We're all rooting for these apps, right? We're all rooting for these apps to deploy. Template farm. We were all rooting for you. Template farm. And you did us dirty. Remember template farm? Anybody? No? Template farm? Template farm. Template farm, anyone? Template farm? We were all rooting for you. We were all rooting for you, template farm. Hey, you could still work on template farm if you want to. It is a GitHub repo, right? We don't have the repo of repos yet either. We tried to build last Thursday into an application, but I don't know. We got distracted, right? Check out the PRs for resource when you can. Sure. Yes, maybe. Can't promise much. All right, cool. Great job, everyone, today. Y'all have been great. I have been Neek. Code something today. Add your suggestions to the ranked choice voting. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific.